Saludos, this is Gabe Morales. If you like our channel, please hit the like and most importantly, the subscribe button. Really appreciate that. And you'll be notified of future episodes that will come on this channel. Today we have a guest who is from the greater city of Angels. He has a long and illustrious career, 40 years now, and still going strong in law enforcement. And his journey is in a lot of ways similar to mine, our background and what we've had to deal with. Please help me welcome Martin Rodriguez. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Gabe. Good to be talking to you.
And so tell us, Martin, where were you born and where'd you grow up?
Well, I was born in, like you said, the greater Los Angeles area. I was born in Los Angeles, and I was raised on the east side, and in and around East LA.
All right. So for our viewers, maybe we get viewers worldwide. That's in Southern California, and that'd be just east of Los Angeles. And I imagine there's quite a few gangs around there, Martin. What kind of gangs did you run into when you were growing up?
Well, that area, I guess you could say, is specifically demographically Hispanics. It's kind of the cradle of gang activity in Southern California there. And then I happen to have family members that claimed membership and affiliation with gangs in an area that's known as the Maravillas. There's multiple Maravilla gangs, but this particular area in East LA is an area claimed by Maravilla gangs. So, and then I had acquaintances and people I knew that were gang members and involved in gang activity. I personally never got involved in gang activity or became a member or involved in any of the activities that the gang members associated themselves with. So.
Very good. And so then what made you decide to get into law enforcement?
Well, a couple of events. I was working at a bank, and I was going to school. I was going to East LA College at night, and that wasn't going real well. My job was it was an interesting job. It was I was a bank teller, and but I didn't see much future in it, and it wasn't motivating or interesting to me until on two occasions we had bank robberies that occurred. One, I was the personal victim of the bank robbery, and a second occasion where it was a takeover. And that was kind of the motivating factor to pursue a career in law enforcement. I decided I didn't like being on that end of a firearm, and I wanted to make an impact on my community as well. So I started seeking opportunities within law enforcement, and I applied for the sheriff's department, and the process went really quickly. And it was right before the 1984 Olympics. So I think the sheriff's department and LAPD were having a hiring surge in preparation for the 84 Olympics. And I got hired on. And it's been history since. It's been a heck of a ride.
All right. Interesting. 40 years. Yeah, I imagine you've seen a lot. What kind of assignments did you have?
Well, I basically ran the gambit of available opportunities in the sheriff's department. I came in when I got hired. At that time, and still to this day, most new recruits after completion of the academy are sent to custody setting. So I went to I continued my education because that's the best teacher is working in a custody environment that it exposes you to the diverse population in a metropolitan area like Los Angeles County. And if you're willing to listen and learn, it's an immense opportunity. And so I went there initially. I went out to patrol. I went to it's no longer in operation, Linwood Station. It's part of our Century Station here in with the LA County Sheriff's Department. And then after a few years there, I really wanted to. It's kind of cliche, but for me, it was a little personal. I wanted to make a difference, an impact in my community where I grew up, and I transferred over to the East LA station and worked the area where I spent most of my formative years.
All right. All right. So, Martin, can you tell us, were there any incidents during any of these assignments that still stand out in your mind today that were, pretty serious cases and you still remember them?
Well, yeah, I went into investigations, and that's been primarily where I spent the lion's share of my career, specifically gang investigations, undercover narcotics, and then ultimately I had a goal to go to homicide, our homicide bureau, affectionately known as the Bulldogs, within Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and around law enforcement agencies in the area. And it was there that probably the most memorable cases or impactful cases that I came across. And like one was a case involved, the moniker of the gang member was Pirate. And I won't identify the gangs because I don't think they should be given any kind of publicity or acknowledgement, So anyway, Pirate was responsible for 3 murders one night. He killed a person in Temple City's area at a party, and then left the party, went searching for rival gang members in the East LA, the Matavia area. And he found 2 people in a driveway that he ultimately killed with an AK-47. And but they were not gang members. Just one was a resident, not involved in any gang activity, and the other one was a family member visiting from Mexico. And so it was a typical tough gang case to crack, but luckily got some breaks, located some witnesses, reluctant as they may be, but got them into court. And got him convicted, and Pirate was sentenced to death and was on death row. And while trying to overturn the conviction through appeals process, was brought back to LA County. But I got an email from the bus driver who I happened to know, and he said that Pirate wanted to make sure that he said hello to me. That he said that that I was just doing my job, and that he had no ill will towards me. It was all business, just strictly business, and that but he wanted to say hello. And so I just thought that was that was my first time where someone who you basically sent away for either a long time life or in this case death row. We kind of respected the fact that I was professional and just doing my job, and that I actually, during the whole case, when I interviewed him stuff, that I afforded him the respect that gang members so value so much as their currency. So, and then had another gang case in East LA that just convicting the gang member named Shrek led to solving a notorious kidnap and murder of a 16-year-old high school girl, where her body was found in Angeles National Forest. And that was a long drawn out case, but it was, I felt good that the fact that I had done my job, my small portion of that led to ultimately to that. NFL football player. He was a former Raider. If you're a Raider fan, I guess that doesn't shock you. Convicted of three murders, and then I've had a couple of deputy involved shootings that stand out, of course, just because of the magnitude of those cases and what they entail. But
Hey,
those are some
Martin,
of-
I can still hear you, but I don't see you on my end. Can you check
Oh.
your camera image again? Make sure
Yeah,
that there you go. You came back.
it went to stop video. Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
That's okay. We still heard your story, so we're good there. So you, during 40 years, you have promoted up through the ranks. Can you tell us a little bit about the differences as far as being a supervisor versus patrolman, and then being a commanding officer now, brass, as they call it,
Yeah,
considered part of the administration.
yeah.
Some of the differences between line staff now and how you're viewed sometimes in the position you're in now.
Yeah. Well, it depends on your personality. In my case, I was kind of a go-getter and always like being working hard and chasing the case and trying to identify and arrest the bad guy. So the transition is kind of lonely, especially at your first step of supervisor when you promote to sergeant. You're no longer part of the guys, and plus your responsibilities change. I mean, it's more important to keep the personnel you supervise focused, motivated, and informed. And then it just gets a little more intense as you promote to each rank. And then ultimately at a captain position, you're in charge of the total running of an operation. Currently, I'm responsible for about 75 investigators who are tasked with preventing auto theft and investigating auto theft crimes in Los Angeles County. So just acclimating yourself to the difference in the speed that work is. It's not as fast paced. And you see investigations, you're around police work, you're still around it when you get to see the good work that your people are doing for you, but you're not actually involved in the nuts and bolts. Every once in a while, they'll come and ask you a question, and that makes you feel good. It makes you feel a little relevant. But mostly just keeping them focused, motivated, informed, and keeping their best interests and ensuring that they're doing their part to serve the community too. So that's kind of the difference.
Understandable. Yeah. I wish sometimes that when I promoted from line staff to supervisor, people could sit in my shoes for a day. They might have a different viewpoint. I wasn't trying to go after them personally. I was trying to keep them out of trouble. And sometimes
and that's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Sometimes there was some anger over me, even asking them a question on something, are you following SOP here? Yeah. And they're like, well, who are you to question me? I'm like, well, I'm trying to keep you out of trouble because it doesn't appear like you are. So I'm trying to keep you out of trouble rather than, trying to give you a hard time.
Exactly.
And that's unfortunate. Sometimes people didn't see it that way. But
I mean,
that was my
good leadership. Good leadership is making the tough decision, and I mean, it's not always popular, and certainly, having been there, it's not a favorable position to be in when you have to discipline or drop the hammer, so to speak. But I mean, it's a necessary part for their well-being, for the people you supervise, their well-being. Yeah.
exactly. So you already know where I'm coming from. But yeah, unless you've been in
Yeah,
that position, it's kind of hard to to explain. You can't. Some supervisors try to be everybody's friend, and they're letting people get away with all kinds of stuff, and then
yeah,
the whole section was getting in trouble. And yeah,
yeah,
that was the job they were hired for, was to supervise.
yeah,
Someone
yeah,
I think forgot that. They're just, I think they just thought, hey, this is a nice raise. So yeah,
yeah.
sometimes it's a little hard, but I think in law enforcement we have generally good supervisors, and sometimes they
Well,
have
it's
to,
very important.
yeah, they have to step in sometimes. They have to be the referee and say, hey, that's it, that's enough. You need to go a different direction. And so thank you very much for sharing that, because I know that was always something that was difficult for me, to understand. I said, hey, I'm still the same person. I haven't changed, but
Right.
evidently, yeah, they definitely the position does change some other people's attitudes towards you. Now, Martin, if you were a youngster and gangs were approaching you today, whether it be in East LA or Chicago, New York, anywhere in America, what kind of advice would you have for that young person to stay out of trouble and stay away from the gang lifestyle?
Well, the gangs are predatory, and they seek out and identify individuals who either need emotional support, familial support, or even have a lack of self-worth. And they feed on that, and then that's kind of what keeps it going. So if a kid were to identify, and this is a philosophy that I try to implement when I was the unit commander at our OSS, our gang unit. It kind of as a preventative measure, or even an intervention measures, that you talk to kids, and you have them find something that they either are good at, or like, or have a passion for it, and then just get them involved in it. Involvement and activity, keeping them in groups that are opposite of the philosophy of gang members, is important to keep kids from falling prey to the gang life, because it does provide a sense of support and family, but there's a price that every kid pays for that, and it ultimately ends in death or prison. And
Right.
so
Right.
it's
So I hear you saying there's definitely kids are going to try to get their needs met, and gangs certainly will do that. But there's some negative repercussions for doing that. You can get involved in things that are positive activities and still get fulfillment in life as a young
right.
person.
But you got to have support. Somebody's got to help them, and that's where, obviously, law enforcement aren't social workers, and they can't be expected, but they are stakeholders in that regard. And so, I think to some extent, it's law enforcement's responsibility to try and get kids directed a different way if they can. With
Gotcha.
other social services and other safety nets within the community. But
Got you. I saw a sign the other day that I really liked. Of course, there's a need for law enforcement, I believe, and in certain cases, they have to step in. They have a role, a job to do in society, but uh, to have programs, to have resources, community resources, is very important, because gangs will step in, and if we don't fund those, youth programs and stuff, gangs will get a program. It might be funded by drug money or stolen
exactly.
cars or guns or whatever, but they're going to fund their programs. You can bet on that.
Right. Yeah. You're
So,
absolutely right.
so Martin, after 40 years in law enforcement, I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes and stuff, and the pendulum swings one way towards the other a lot of times as far as politics. But right now, knowing what you know today about what works and what doesn't work in the criminal justice system, if you were a politician, what kind of policies and rules and laws would you implement to improve the system?
Well, I mean, what I've come to realize is that and understand is we cannot arrest our way out of the justice system problems that we're incurring now. But that being said, we need to have uh, some consequences, and we need to basically kind of like a gang investigation um, philosophy, which is identify the most violent, the most active gang members, and even though if it's temporary, remove them from the community so that the community benefits and flourishes while these predators are confined. I mean, there's just people among us that that need that, and the community needs that, especially now when you see crime rates rising and stuff. So all these here in Los Angeles and LA County or in California in general, we have Prop 47 and AB 109 laws that have loosened up the confinement and incarceration of people, putting hand quotes, finger quotes, non-serious, non-violent offenders back out on the street. It's kind of a misnomer, but I think the proof is there after several years of having it implemented that it's just not working. And although I don't think we need to mass incarcerate people, there are people that need to go to jail, stay in jail, just so that the community remains safe. So those were those type of laws I would address. And then also we have to, with the influx of homeless, which is also part and parcel to this whole dismantling of the the criminal justice system, we need to invest in people while incarcerated. We need to have robust rehabilitation, counseling, and address mental health needs while incarcerated. And then, if upon release, if they reoffend or whatever, I mean, at least we tried, but, just not allowing mass releases and zero bail was what we encountered during the pandemic. And especially at my current position, the recidivism rate was unbelievable, and it emboldened. We had a guy still that we know of, because we arrested him 14 times, still 14 cars, 14 separate occasions within 2 months, and knew, because there was no repercussions, no consequence to that action. He just kept doing it, and he was basically affecting the livelihood of moderate income to low income people. I mean, people that was their only form of transportation. And so, although he was considered non-serious, non-violent, he was having a negative impact on the quality of life for that community that he targeted.
Right. No, I totally understand. In Hawaii, where I currently reside, car theft is epidemic. So is methamphetamine, and they seem to go kind of hand in hand. And so, I'm not recommending, a kid that's going joyriding or something, first time offender, slamming the book at him. But yeah, we have offenders that have been, busted 20 or more times in, like you said, low bail or no bail, and are just released out in the street, sometimes before the officer gets off duty.
Yeah.
And that's also discouraging the officers. Like, why should I arrest this guy if he's hitting the street before I get off duty? It's not. And then the public is angry. Why aren't you doing anything about it? Well, we tried, ma'am, but they let him out. Sorry, he stole your other car. But it just, it kind of snowballs. So yes, most definitely, there comes a point where there has to be repercussions. And we're not talking about 14, 15-year-old kids going joyriding. We're talking about 24, 25-year-old often ringleaders that are encouraging other youngsters to steal cars,
Yeah.
and saying, hey, you're going to get away with it because the system won't do anything to you. and there's no room in jail and prison. And yeah, so, but like you said, it is not a victimless crime. It impacts a lot of people, and it's just yeah, it's you don't do something at that level, they move up from car theft to something a little more serious, carjacking, robbery, uh, that kind of thing. They're doing meth now. They're dealing meth now. They're getting into a law enforcement encounter, assault with law enforcement because they're tweaking on meth. It just, yeah, we have to draw the line, I guess you say. Decide when it's time for prevention intervention and when it's time for suppression and incarceration. Some people aren't going to learn for a while until they get the message. And then while they're in, like you said, get some rehabilitation, get some job skills, because most people do get released one day. They just shouldn't be released maybe of that same shift.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, you got to have the carrot and the stick.
exactly.
You can't. That it doesn't work without one of them. So,
Right.
and we're finding that we're finding that out, unfortunately, here in California, in
Right.
greater numbers and across the country. But I can only speak to what I see on a daily basis here in LA County and in California. And so, yeah, you got to. It's old. It's old news. It's tried and true, but I think it still works. You know what I mean? If you want to get wrap your arms around what's going on currently. So.
Got you. And so, Martin, I believe that LA Sheriff's Department, as well as many departments around the nation, are down officer positions. I know there's a lot of recruitment drives too to try to get encourage people to apply and join the force. So why should people join LA Sheriff's Department? What makes it such a good department? And what kind of advice would you have for a applicant to get ready to join and get ready for the academy?
Well, I guess you could say I'm kind of a recruiting poster. I mean, I did 40 years and still quite proud of the LA County Sheriff's Department and proud of what it did for me and what I was able to give back to the department. I think our department is one of the larger departments in the nation, and it immediately what it offers is a multitude of avenues and opportunities for job. I mean, we have so many. So somebody enters into our department, they're going to have a variety of options as they continue with their career. We have custody, we have the courts, we have transportation, we have those tough guys that wear the green pajamas, the SWAT team members, and then investigations and patrol, which is and they're all important, all of them. So it offers variety, but also our department is unique in regards to the philosophy that for 40 years that I've worked at, and it continues today. We look to empower deputies to become leaders in a diverse community and have diverse deputies make an impact and a difference in the communities we serve. And by that, I mean, deputies are expected to make decisions on their own and make good decisions. And a lot of times, departments sometimes over supervise, so to speak, in the fact that they don't let a deputy make or an officer make any decision without, getting it totally run by a supervisor. And
Micromanagement. Micromanagement,
exactly.
I think they call it. Yeah.
But that doesn't grow the officer. I mean, if it's basically becomes a robot, if he's not, but you give him the tools to do things correct, you give him the knowledge, and then a supervisor should just be there to guide and make sure that the train doesn't run off the track, so.
Right.
So
I know you guys have a lot of good training there. You have one of the best academies in the nation. You know, a lot of times people hear about, you know, officers going rogue. You have that in any business. You have bad doctors. You have, you know, bad
Absolutely.
firemen. You know, you name the career, but people seem to focus, you know, a lot of times on bad deputies or rogue deputies, and that just happens everywhere, unfortunately. But I know for a
Yeah.
fact, I communicate and know personally a lot of officers on your department and have for years, and they are really good people. They care about their community. They care about their, you know, their career. They're good people. They have families, and yeah, I believe they are part of the solution and not part of the problem. So I definitely support them. I am not anti-police by far. I do think we could do a little, you know, there's always room for improvement, room
We
for
can always do
reform.
better. We can
Yeah,
always do
exactly,
better.
exactly. But I know you
And
guys are doing a
if you're,
good job.
if you're not evolving, then you're stagnant, you
Right,
know, and if you
right,
stay stagnant too long, then you die. So you
right.
always got to
Well,
evolve. You got to keep moving. You got to keep moving forward.
right. Well, I'm sure in 40 years you've seen a lot of changes, and yeah,
Yeah.
you just keep on moving towards, you know, a better direction, a more positive direction, and increasingly, uh, you know, show that professionalism as best we can. But we're, you know, human beings too, just like anybody else. We do make mistakes. We just, you know, uh, should not be doing them, you know, consistently.
Yeah.
You know, but everybody makes mistakes and yeah, and learn from them. So I hear what you're
That's
saying.
where good supervision comes in. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. I remember yeah, getting chewed out a few times, but it was for my benefit. So again, that's the
Exactly.
importance of supervisors being there and keeping everything
Same
running
here.
good. So Martin, thank you very much for sharing all your knowledge and everything. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we go today?
No, just thank you for inviting me on. You know, I hope you
All
found
right,
it interesting.
I put up that background there just for you.
That's right.
Down Whittier Boulevard.
That's my, yeah. If you did that for my benefit, I appreciate it, because that's I know that area well.
Right. East
So,
LA, some good food.
East
Yeah, good
LA,
people there.
yeah.
All right. All right.
All
So
right.
Martin, thank you very much. And if you ever come out to Hawaii, man, you know, you want to have a little fun and sun out here, look me up. I'll show you a good time. Aloha.
I certainly will. Aloha, Gabe. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.